to what that is.
Right, what
Well,
takes a timeout, like what means a timeout.
What constitutes time.
Yeah,
Right.
that has to be
Yeah.
defined.
And I think what George Hale kept saying over and over to me again was the parent has to be informed, the parent has to be on board, has to be either in a behavioral intervention plan or an IEP. There has to be something in writing that the parent's agreeing to.
And if they're not if the student doesn't have an IEP, then just.
Then there has to be
If a child needs a
something.
timeout continuously, there's a
Chances are they
problem.
need some sort of assistance.
There is a problem.
And I'm
It could be a
sure
special
most of the
needs
principals
issue.
do communicate though, by phone calls, don't they? I mean, it
And
rings
do they
on the
have to
phone
make
all
a
the
phone
time.
call though, really?
It could be a phone call or something in
type of
writing, it has
contact.
to be a contact.
No, even.
Well, I think if you indicate parent notification, I think you leave that discretion
Yeah,
out,
that's
because
a
I
good
think,
idea.
I overheard.
There's different
The
styles
middle
of
school agenda
relationships,
book is something
yeah.
that's commonly used for middle school kids.
Right.
It's a little note saying, whatever it may be, it could be, you could do that, where, I may be apt to, if you want to talk to somebody over the phone and just kind of communicate that. I'm just thinking my own two boys, sometimes if I get something in writing, I all of a sudden think it's more severe. And so I'll have teachers call me, and maybe they know my background, so they'll tend to, if they have an issue with my son, call me, because they probably think I'm gonna be ready to kill my kid when he gets home, so I got George here writing notes after my contract. But you know what I'm saying, so they'll say, listen, I don't want you guys to overreact, but have a discussion with, I'm like, so sometimes,
Not that I don't like it, but I'm opposite. I mean,
Yeah,
it's fine,
you
because
wanna
I
know.
know
Yes,
that, that happens.
So but I think
It's
I think you use great procedure that says parent notification and leave some discretion. And then ultimately a parent could, if I had a parent say to me, listen, I'd rather have you call me.
You would send that home with the child and trust the child to give it to the parent?
Well, it has to
you
be
have a
an
parent
individual
signature,
case.
Because I mean,
I think the age of the child too, I think.
Well, I think
Oh my
especially if you
God,
have a
no.
child, I think you have to know the child.
Oh, see,
You
that-
know, like I said, the agenda,
Under the
I've had notes
discretion,
from
yeah.
this year,
Yeah.
it's been perfect.
Yeah.
I have to sign that book
Yeah, I
for
was gonna say,
homework.
do parents have to sign the,
And
because I
then
know,
in the
I know
third
my.
grade here at North,
That's the
I can
obvious.
tell you, we have to sign the agenda book. So
Yeah.
if my son's teacher puts a quick note, he needed a sensory break today, or, we had to remove him from class because, and sometimes it is a quick little paragraph, 2 sentences, I know what happened. I have to sign that book for his homework, so she's seen my signature, she knows I got the note.
As
You
much
know,
as
and
you want
obviously
there
if
to
it's
be
something
consistent.
more in-depth, then maybe that does warrant a
I think,
phone call,
like,
can we
in
talk about what happened
Another
today?
parent, right, might need a phone call.
I think the balance is gonna be trying to be sure that there's some consistency.
Yeah.
You want all the kids in the district, generally speaking, to be treated fairly and consistently, and yet not so restrictive. So coming up with a procedure like parent notification and some general parameters, so at least it's not nothing at all.
Right,
But yet at the same time allows some discretion, because some teacher may have some great approach that they use and someone else just doesn't do it that way, but
I
it still
don't-
works.
I don't think we have a problem for middle school and
Yeah.
high school, because we know timeouts mean like detention.
Yeah.
Pretty much, you break the
Yeah.
code,
Yeah.
you're getting some
Exactly.
signs,
Yeah.
you're staying after school, that's a given.
Right.
But in elementary, it's
Do
different.
we take kids out of, in middle school or high school, do we take them out of class if they're?
Disruptive?
They need that
Well,
break?
yeah.
This is generally right, I would say.
If I had a
As a
teacher
kid.
just sent to the principal's office.
Yeah, you get sent to the next day, you get sent, you'd be like, well,
Yes.
I
Yeah,
just
you-
did
but
so many other kids like
The
you.
reality would be that they would probably follow the procedure, because there is a parent notification, it may be a detention slip, it may be a warning, that type of
Or
thing.
by
The agenda
then-
is typically, in fairness to the middle school, having been there a long time, I think, generally speaking, the agenda book is usually used as the first kind of line. Spoke to your child regarding this, and they'll do the same thing, initial it, bring it back. I mean, that's a good middle school responsibility piece. We often want the kids to say, listen, first of all, the kid doesn't want to go home and bring that to mom and dad. But part of it is, you have to own up to your responsibility, so I'm gonna hold you responsible.
there's a
Tomorrow, you're gonna show me
consequence.
that.
Or
And so
they
it-
get
yes,
detention if they
exactly,
don't
so I mean,
bring it back.
and so
Yeah.
you have that issue, but it's kind of a learning piece. Would you do that with the younger child? Probably not, but I mean, in the middle school, it's a growing piece, so I think we can work on this. I think Kristen, if you send something to Sue, we can
Okay.
follow up with the principals.
That
on
would
it.
be great, yeah, that would be great.
Due to time, can we jump into?
Yeah, what's the next topic you wanna
Public
talk
complaint.
about?
See, you wanna go down, or do you wanna start up from the observation policy? which-
Whatever you want, Victor. It's your
Observation
team.
policy, what I can share with you,
Oh, we get that memo, do you have that memo, Sue?
actually, I do. I told Sue I had the packet, so this is, we had referenced last time, and I think it was kind of right at the very tail end of the meeting, that we met with the principals, and I think the group had asked, do you have some, you didn't say it this way, do you have some evidence that you did that? And we didn't have it at the time. Sue sent a memo, and I didn't make copies, so I hope you don't mind, I'll be happy to share it with. We had she sent a memo out to the principals on December 10th as a result of the meeting, and if you think about the timing, that was right after you presented the case. And the memo basically says, from Sue to the principals, in order to ensure an open door policy to all parents and guardians, the principals shall, 3 bullets, very direct. In the case of any verbal or written request made by the parent or guardian for classroom observation, the principal shall honor the request in a timely manner. 2, the parent guardian will be allowed to observe the classroom without any restraint, or restrictions, I'm restraining my mind. And lastly, the special ed director will have the authority to point out any compliance issues to the school principal. We actually had the principals, and we handed them, again, when we met that day, both Sue and I met with the principals. We gave them the form, the policy, which, so there's no, we had raised, if you recall, publicly, the issue was not with the policy, but with the procedures as it adhered to that. So in that spirit, based on the director of the school committee, both Sue and I met with the school, I want to say it was the next morning. I think if you look back to the date, I think the 10th was the Friday morning. We decided to come up with a memo. We actually had the principals, they love this, by the way, I'm a little tired of these. They actually signed that they attended on that day.
Love that.
But, I mean, there was no dispute, and we wanted the same message to be, listen, here's what the procedure, here's what the policy is, here's the spirit of the law, here's what we're expecting from you folks at all 6 schools.
Right.
All the principals, I think everybody was there.
Yeah.
So,
Now, the other piece that I added for Sue is, I've often said, I said it to you folks, I said it to my principals. Sue, as the director of special education, is an extension of the superintendent. So if there is a compliance issue in any one of my schools, and Sue feels there's a compliance issue, then there is a compliance issue. And we wanted to communicate that, and we did to the principals, which is, we're not gonna get in debate over this. If the issue gets to that there's a parent observation, there's some restrictions or some limitations, and it's brought from the parent to the principal to the Sped director, that Sue would intervene on behalf of the superintendent, and I left it at that, which was, and it was pretty clear. So it wasn't a lengthy piece, and we just simply kind of, we kind of, you know, but the message was, and from what and so now moving, you know, fast forwarding, we weren't aware, I think we left off last time of issues, and I know there was kind of the sense.
it wasn't really, no restrictions. It was just,
But the treatment, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but it was kind of the sense that this was kind of an annoyance, was, my word, you didn't say that, but what I would suggest to parents that come to you is if you saw the memo that went out to the principals, there was no misunderstanding. If in fact you get a call and someone says to you, Representative Pace, that, I know that's what they said, but I'm just giving you my feedback on my most recent, have them call Sue, so we can do a follow-up.
Okay.
That would be my recommendation.
My only thing with this, and actually referencing back to the restraint policy, is I did take a look at the elementary school handbook.
Yeah.
Your restraint policy in the elementary school handbook is different than your policy. The way it's outlined in your elementary school handbook for this year is different. It says that it's a 5-minute standard.
I have it.
I was gonna print it and I had printer issues, so just to make you aware.
In the elementary handbook?
In the elementary handbook, the physical restraint policy is different than the physical
this?
restraint policy.
It wasn't.
That was in this.
It wasn't, so it just could
says
cause
about
confusion.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any reference to observation policy in any of the handbooks. And we didn't know if that would be something that you
I'll
would
find it.
consider adding to
Thank you,
the
nice to have it in the handbook.
Okay.
for parents.
So using that,
notification.
put the observation policy in the handbook?
We try, I mean, in fairness to the policies, and I was a middle school principal, the agenda, remember, our policy books are part of the kids' agenda. So as that document gets larger, the kids carry around the document.
paragraph.
No, but I'm saying,
Yeah,
so we
three
tried to
lines, that's all
reduce
that
that
matters.
piece. The
Yeah.
observation policy,
Just do the memo,
Well, just
like
a
three.
summation of it, you know,
Three
that there's,
bullets.
you know,
Yeah,
to
those 3 bullets
contact,
is
you know,
fine.
who to
Observations.
contact, you know, that there's,
Three lines.
you know,
Is good enough, I think.
just a summation of it, doesn't have to go into gory details, I don't think. But yeah, I did want to make you aware that the restraint policy was different,
Yeah.
because that could be
The
confusing.
elementary.
If somebody's like, gee, what do I do with this, you know, as an employee,
Right.
they would be looking at something different than what our town policy is.
okay?
Our
So-
district policy, where would an average person find it? Is it on the web?
Yeah.
Library.
The
It's
district
at the
policy
library.
is,
Library.
What do
Actually,
you
actually,
mean?
Is it the library? That big book.
Our policy book that I brought is at the library.
It's
a
in my
public
bag
library.
down
Most people
here.
don't know it is. It's
Yeah,
in-
you just get a counter and how to go to.
Wait,
the,
it's here.
observation
It's here.
policy smaller and smaller
We
numbers
haven't
of
put it on the
hours.
website because it just consumes so much time. A lot of districts will have their policy book on.
some do.
The observation
I'm
policy
just wondering if it's-
specifically is on the
If
PACE
it's on a
website.
PDF, the
It's
whole
in a
up.
PDF. Yeah, the observation policy is in a PDF on the PACE
Oh,
website.
that's a small book. I'm just wondering if it's,
The
if
entire
that
book.
file would be humongous.
There
It's
are a
pretty-
lot
And
of.
that was the reservation to not put it on. I'm not saying that's a legitimate excuse, but that's why we haven't put our policy book on there. And
Could we just post
Library.
something, does,
The,
like if, let's say someone
yeah,
goes to our
yeah,
webpage,
yeah,
could they,
something.
where to find the policy
Where to
book,
find
where
it.
to be located, like, say they can access
he-
that information.
you know, like,
The
we can
library.
view a copy or
Public
like,
library.
just let some, just in case if someone's trying to, where is that policy, you know?
Right.
Yeah, similar.
We could actually have a link on the left-hand side, when you click that on, it then would direct them to where they can
Yeah, that's
obtain a
fine.
hard copy of the.
Mhm.
Alright, so does that take care of observation policy?
Yeah, that was all I had.
Concerns?
Did you have anything to say? That's fine. Okay.
Okay, the last paragraph, it says
Focus
the
group?
staff shall report any of 5 minutes.
Focus group?
Focus group, okay, we had, we
Well, listen to the
finished,
focus group first.
we finished our focus group on parent participation, we talked about that the last time. Since then, we had our first meeting, our first focus group meeting on co-teaching and inclusion. We had 4 attendees. I sent the the minutes to, I think you've got a copy of the minutes, right?
I did.
Yeah, okay, so I have a copy if you want them. Basically, we focused more time on inclusion and maybe some things that we can do to just educate the general public and maybe just make it more